When installing a new 15-amp breaker in an older Bryant panel and experiencing issues such as the breaker not holding or no voltage being read, several factors could be at play. It's crucial to systematically investigate each potential cause to identify the root of the problem. Firstly, it's important to verify that the Cutler-Hammer breaker being used is specifically designed for Bryant panels. While Cutler-Hammer did acquire Bryant, not all Cutler-Hammer breakers are compatible with older Bryant panels. Some CH breakers may not be compatible. Consult the manufacturer's documentation or a qualified electrician to confirm the correct breaker model for your specific Bryant panel. Secondly, loose connections can cause intermittent or no power. Ensure the breaker is properly and securely connected to the bus bars in the panel. A loose connection can prevent the breaker from functioning correctly. Thirdly, inspect the bus bars where the breaker is installed for any damage, such as corrosion or loose connections. If there is damage, it could affect the breaker's functionality. Corrosion can impede electrical flow, and loose connections on the bus bars can disrupt the circuit. Fourthly, remove the CH breaker and try a different one to rule out a defective unit. A faulty breaker, even if new, can exhibit the symptoms of not holding or not providing voltage. Swapping it with a known good breaker will help determine if the issue lies with the breaker itself. Fifthly, incorrect wiring can prevent the breaker from working properly. Check the wiring connected to the breaker for loose wires or incorrect connections. Ensure that the wires are securely attached to the breaker terminals and that the wiring configuration matches the panel's specifications. To systematically address these potential issues, follow these steps. 1. Turn off the main power at the electrical panel for safety. 2. Remove the CH breaker that is not working. 3. Inspect the bus bars for damage or loose connections. Look for any signs of corrosion, discoloration, or physical damage to the bus bars. Also, check if any connections to the bus bars are loose or corroded. 4. Consult the manufacturer's documentation for the correct Cutler-Hammer breaker model compatible with your Bryant panel. This documentation should provide information on compatible breaker types and any specific installation requirements. 5. Install the new breaker securely to the bus bars. Ensure that the breaker is firmly seated and properly aligned with the bus bars. 6. Turn on the main power and test the breaker. Use a multimeter to verify that the breaker is providing the correct voltage to the circuit it's intended to serve. 7. If the problem persists, contact a qualified electrician for further troubleshooting. An electrician can perform a more detailed inspection of the panel and wiring to identify any underlying issues. When working with electrical panels, always prioritize safety. If you're not comfortable working with electricity or unsure about any of the steps involved, it's best to consult a qualified electrician. Electricity can be dangerous, and improper handling can lead to serious injury or property damage. Understanding breaker types is crucial for ensuring compatibility and safety. Different manufacturers use different designs and configurations, so it's essential to use the correct breaker for your specific panel. Using an incompatible breaker can damage the panel or create a fire hazard. When inspecting bus bars, look for signs of overheating, such as discoloration or melting. Overheating can indicate a loose connection or an overloaded circuit. If you find any signs of overheating, address the underlying issue before reinstalling the breaker. Wiring connections should be tight and secure to prevent arcing and overheating. Use the correct size and type of wire for the circuit and ensure that the insulation is in good condition. Damaged or frayed wires can create a fire hazard. When testing the breaker, use a multimeter to measure the voltage and current. Verify that the voltage is within the expected range and that the current is not exceeding the breaker's rating. An overloaded circuit can cause the breaker to trip, indicating a potential safety hazard. In addition to the steps outlined above, consider the age and condition of the Bryant panel. Older panels may have worn or damaged components that can affect their performance. If the panel is old or in poor condition, it may be time to replace it with a new one. Replacing an electrical panel is a significant undertaking that should be performed by a qualified electrician. It involves disconnecting and reconnecting all of the circuits in the house, so it's essential to have the necessary skills and experience to do the job safely. Before working on any electrical equipment, always disconnect the power at the main breaker. This will prevent accidental shock and ensure your safety. Use a voltage tester to verify that the power is off before touching any wires or components. Wear safety glasses and gloves to protect yourself from electrical shock and burns. When working with electrical panels, it's essential to follow all safety precautions and best practices. If you're not sure about something, it's always best to consult a qualified electrician. They can provide expert guidance and ensure that the job is done safely and correctly. Remember, electricity is a powerful force that should be treated with respect. By following these guidelines and taking the necessary precautions, you can safely troubleshoot and repair your electrical panel. If you encounter any issues that you're not comfortable handling, don't hesitate to call a qualified electrician for assistance. Their expertise and experience can help you resolve the problem quickly and safely. Also consider the load in the circuit. A 15-amp breaker is designed to protect a circuit with a maximum load of 15 amps. If the circuit is overloaded, the breaker will trip to prevent a fire. Make sure that the appliances and devices connected to the circuit do not exceed the breaker's rating. If you frequently trip the breaker, it may be necessary to upgrade the circuit to a higher amperage. Upgrading a circuit should be performed by a qualified electrician. They can assess the load requirements of the circuit and install the appropriate wiring and breaker. Another potential cause of breaker tripping is a short circuit. A short circuit occurs when there is a direct connection between two wires in the circuit. This can cause a large amount of current to flow through the circuit, which can trip the breaker. Short circuits can be caused by damaged wiring, faulty appliances, or loose connections. If you suspect a short circuit, disconnect the power to the circuit and inspect the wiring for damage. If you find any damaged wiring, repair it or replace it. Also, check the appliances connected to the circuit for faults. A faulty appliance can cause a short circuit. Another factor to consider is the type of breaker being used. There are different types of breakers designed for different applications. For example, there are standard breakers, ground fault circuit interrupter breakers, and arc fault circuit interrupter breakers. Standard breakers are designed to protect against overloads and short circuits. Ground fault circuit interrupter breakers are designed to protect against ground faults, which can occur when electricity leaks to ground. Arc fault circuit interrupter breakers are designed to protect against arc faults, which can occur when there is a loose connection in the circuit. Make sure that you are using the correct type of breaker for the application. If you are not sure, consult a qualified electrician. Also, consider the age of the panel. Older panels may have corroded or damaged components, which can cause problems with the breakers. If the panel is old or in poor condition, it may be necessary to replace it. Replacing an electrical panel is a major undertaking that should be performed by a qualified electrician. They can assess the condition of the panel and recommend the appropriate replacement. When replacing a breaker, it is important to use a breaker that is compatible with the panel. Different manufacturers use different types of breakers, so it is important to use a breaker that is designed for the panel. Using an incompatible breaker can damage the panel or create a fire hazard. If you are not sure which breaker to use, consult a qualified electrician. They can help you select the correct breaker for the panel. Also, make sure that the breaker is properly installed. The breaker should be firmly seated in the panel and the connections should be tight. Loose connections can cause problems with the breaker. If you are not sure how to install a breaker, consult a qualified electrician. They can install the breaker properly and ensure that it is working correctly. Regular maintenance is important for keeping your electrical panel in good condition. Inspect the panel regularly for any signs of damage or corrosion. Clean the panel periodically to remove dust and dirt. Also, test the breakers periodically to make sure that they are working correctly. If you find any problems with the panel, contact a qualified electrician for assistance. They can diagnose the problem and recommend the appropriate repairs. By following these tips, you can keep your electrical panel in good condition and ensure that it is working safely and efficiently. Remember, Electricity is a powerful force that should be treated with respect. Always follow safety precautions when working with electrical equipment. If you are not sure about something, consult a qualified electrician. Also, consider the ambient temperature. High temperatures can cause breakers to trip prematurely. If the panel is located in a hot area, it may be necessary to install a fan or air conditioner to keep the panel cool. Another potential cause of breaker tripping is nuisance tripping. Nuisance tripping occurs when the breaker trips for no apparent reason. This can be caused by a variety of factors, such as voltage fluctuations, electromagnetic interference, or faulty wiring. If you are experiencing nuisance tripping, consult a qualified electrician for assistance. They can diagnose the problem and recommend the appropriate solutions. Also, consider the type of load in the circuit. Some loads, such as motors and compressors, can draw a large amount of current when they start up. This can cause the breaker to trip, even if the circuit is not overloaded. If you are using a motor or compressor on the circuit, you may need to use a time delay breaker. Time delay breakers are designed to allow a brief overload of current without tripping. This can prevent nuisance tripping when starting up motors and compressors. Another factor to consider is the size of the wiring. The wiring must be large enough to handle the load on the circuit. If the wiring is too small, it can overheat and cause the breaker to trip. Consult a qualified electrician to determine the correct size of wiring for the circuit. Also, consider the length of the wiring run. The longer the wiring run, the more voltage drop there will be. Voltage drop can cause problems with the appliances and devices connected to the circuit. If the voltage drop is too high, it may be necessary to use a larger size of wiring. Consult a qualified electrician to determine the correct size of wiring for the length of the run. Always use properly rated tools for the job. Insulated tools are a must when working around electricity. These tools are designed to protect you from electrical shock. Inspect your tools regularly for any damage. Do not use damaged tools. Keep your work area clean and free of clutter. This will help prevent accidents. Work in a well-lit area. This will help you see what you are doing and prevent mistakes. Avoid working alone. If possible, have someone nearby who can help you in case of an emergency. Always have a first aid kit handy. In case of an electrical shock, seek medical attention immediately. Before starting any electrical work, make sure you have a clear understanding of the task at hand. If you are unsure about something, consult a qualified electrician. When working with electricity, always prioritize safety. By following these guidelines and taking the necessary precautions, you can minimize the risk of accidents and injuries. And remember that working safely with electricity starts with respecting it.